We've already got, like a course online that folks can access if they're interested in that. And it's really like 20 different topics throughout like what I've learned in working with people over the last however many years. It seems to be, or I tried to condense it down to be the 20 biggest things that people want to know. And I didn't set out for it to be 20. It just ended up being 20 as I went down the list and thought, what are the questions I get asked the most about? What seems to be the greatest barriers of entry for people to have success for whatever that goal might be? And we created a course for each of that and then packaged that whole course in a one, and this was huge, and this was your doing, package that entire course in one place, right? So people sign up for it. It's 99 bucks, one time, lifetime access. You get access to all of these courses and every resource that is tied to those topics that we have ever put out in one spot, all accessible with a username and a password that you can go back to now or 45 years from now, if the internet exists 45 years from now, and get access to that. What we've done in 2024 is similar to that offering, but really changed two things. One, condensed it way down from 20 to about 6 to 8 and improved the quality. I think the content in the current course is great. I think the information is great. There is nothing I would go back and change about the information. The one thing that I look back on it now and sort of feel like, yeah, I don't love that is the quality of the video itself. And you can make the argument that, okay, well, shut the video off and people still get the content and it's great. But still, when I first started to develop those courses, it was in the infancy of Valley to Peak. It was at the peak of COVID. I was recording them inside of my office in my house with kids in the background. It was just kind of like just I had a USB camera because at that point it was the only camera I had. The computer I was using didn't have one, so I really wanted to improve that, and that'll be available probably early in 2024. There's already the course now. There will be I'm not even going to call it a new course because the content is similar, but it's condensed with a little bit higher quality. The other thing that you worked a ton on this year were the sheets, right? The development of the fact sheets. So I'd love for you to sort of give a 30-foot overview of what that looks like, but I'll preface your introduction to those by saying all I did was put some words in a Word document and you made them look very nice. So from your perspective, how would you describe what the FAQ sheets are?
Yeah, I think I'm actually a pretty good person to ask that question of because I'm not a nutrition buff by any means. Anything I know about it, I've learned by building stuff for you and listening to your content. So it's been kind of fun to, while I'm editing your courses and stuff like that, I'm learning this stuff too and kind of synthesizing in my mind like how is this going to make sense for someone who might be hearing this for the first time. Um, so I did that process with the courses, and I also did it quite a bit with the sheets because I had to go back to you and ask like what are you really saying here. I'm not sure if this is clear, so I had to uh, ask you a few times what you meant, or is this really necessary, or can this be more simplified, or anything like that. But really it's trying to remember how many we ended up with. Is there 10 sheets,
Yeah,
12 sheets?
I think there's six, like, call them major topics: carbs, proteins, timings, calories, some of those things. And then for some of those topics, there's bonus. And if I remember right, we ended up with a total of between 10 and 12.
Yeah, it was a pretty big undertaking, more than I think either of us thought it was going to be. But I think we put so much work into boiling down what people really need to know that they turned into a really pretty cool product that I'm I'm proud of, and I'm sure you are too. But I think it really, if you were to get the bundle, which is the best bang for your buck, um, and you get all those sheets, you really have a quick reference guide for all of the top nutrition areas that someone should focus on if they have some kind of fitness goal in their life. I think it would cover a lot of those basic questions to get them started. And then, obviously there's more fine tuning that anyone can do, and there's more questions that anyone can ask. But I think it's a really good, like, first stepping stone to give people some rules of thumb to work with.
So they ended up being a one on protein, one on calories, one on electrolytes and hydration, one on fats, one on carbs, one on carb loading, totals and timings, set, etc. So you can just purchase one sheet if you wanted to, or you could buy all of them with, I think there's 5 bonus sheets, which is what we're calling like the bundle. And definitely the best from a cost and a value standpoint. So those are kind of, the big things that we've worked on over the course of 2023. Can you talk about kind of what our game plan is for the new year?
The one that seems, in my mind, seems to really bridge the gap between someone who's interested in, or not quite interested in, one-on-one coaching, but also maybe a little bit beyond just taking a self-guided course. That's a pretty big gap, I think. And so with your Foundations Plus program, going to be a really good sweet spot for those people in the middle. It's going to be in the middle for people who care to take as deep of a dive as a one-on-one coaching client, but it's also in the middle for, for a different price point. And so I think it will serve a lot of people in the middle there in those 2 ways. And there's going to be a few sessions of them.
So we're going to run one per quarter, right? Starting in January. So you'll have what we'll call like winter spring cohort that'll run January to March, and then a spring cohort that will run April to June, kind of a fall that will run, the next quarter, and then a winter at the end of the quarter. So there's 4 opportunities, and the reason they're spaced out like that is because it's that long, right? So it's 8 or 12 weeks. And what it is the course, which is this, call it new one that we're developing. So it is that course, but you're diving in a little bit deeper through live calls. So every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Mountain, you will be able to get in with a small group of people and dive deeper into the topic. So, like, let's say, for example, one of the first steps of our entire process is the audit phase. Everything's broken into 3 phases. You got an audit phase, a goal phase, and then a maintenance phase. So if they're doing that audit phase, you watch the video, it sort of talks about the audit, talks about how to go through it. But sometimes it's helpful to sit down with someone and sort through the options, right? There's 3 main options that most people are focusing on. Maybe there's 2 of those 3 that they see that they're sort of torn between. So it gives you the opportunity to sit down, sort through what options should I lean towards based on that. Then you go to week 2 and you start talking about calories. You run your calorie numbers. Here's what you're observing, questions you've got on that. So it gives you some additional support where the being in the course alone, you might not be able to access that, right? And then on the flip side of that, being in the middle versus like one-on-one coaching, it doesn't have me going in though and doing a thorough in-depth analysis on your nutrition where the one-on-one coaching does, and you're getting tailored feedback. So it again is kind of that happy medium where maybe you don't want that type of commitment, but you feel like you do want a little bit more than just walking through a course on your own. There's that option for that too. So yeah, it'll be offered 4 times over the course of the year, broken into quarters, with the first one starting in January of this year. The live calls will be every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Mountain Time. If you can't make those, you get a recording of it, and you get access to it like that as well. So yeah, there's, like you had mentioned, sort of that happy medium. So that's new for 2024. And then in addition to that, some more specified classes. So twice a year, one in spring, one in fall, doing a 4-week course on planning backcountry nutrition, specifically geared towards spring hunts or spring hikes or spring expeditions or whatever. And then ones for the fall, as well as a couple of single day 1-hour long courses for dehydrating your own food, right? So you've got questions about that, topics you want to cover, and then everybody who attends that will get a free copy of the Dehydrate Guide. So really the goal this year was to try to fill in the gaps. create something for people who wanted more than just some sheets, but who maybe were uncertain about the commitment, either because of time or some other reason, for the one-on-one coaching. And honestly, because I am just one person, it gives me the opportunity to help a variety of people. And there is strength in numbers. If you get 5 people, 10 people meeting at the same time for 3 months, like I've seen this before when we've done this in other groups, it is inevitable that they reform a relationship, which means it is inevitable that there is the strength in numbers, and accountability and progress is always better. Not even while they're in it, but even after it. And so, I thought that that was just kind of an ancillary benefit to offering something like this. And I'm excited to see how it works.